Today, we're taking this G80 M3 competition with less than 300 miles and we're throwing $40,000 worth of upgrades at it. I'm talking aero, suspension, wheels, interior trim, engine bay trim, intake, and even exhaust. So stay tuned as we transform this completely stock G80 M3 competition from looking like this to this.
I know what you're thinking, that before and after wasn't the most impressive thing in the world. But after spending upwards of 100 grand on a G80 M3, we wanted to ensure that most of the $40,000 we're about to spend will be noticed and appreciated by the driver every time they take the car out. So of course we had to start with the exhaust. With the Active Auto Work single mid-pipe exhaust, we can remove some of the OEM restriction points that hinder performance and the exhaust sound. Speaking of sound, the unique tone of this exhaust is not merely achieved by opening up the restriction points, but by also engineering a piece that optimizes exhaust gas scavenging. Instead of running a dual exhaust all the way through, Active Auto Work designed this exhaust so that the exhaust gases from each cylinder bank join together in the middle before splitting up again into the muffler. This better balance of exhaust gas scavenging is what contributes to the increased performance, sound, and reduced drone. But if you want total control of your exhaust, you need the exhaust valve module. Since the exhaust flaps of the G chassis BMWs are load dependent, the car has to be moving for the valves to open. In order to get around this, we're installing the Dynon dual exhaust valve module. With the press of a button, you can now override the OEM system to have the valves always open or closed, if the occasion calls for it. The best part is that this module is 100% plug and play, not only with the OEM system, but also any aftermarket exhaust that utilizes the factory electronic exhaust valve actuator. And just so we don't ruin the reveal of the exterior, we'll do the before and after sound test right after all the exterior carbon fiber pieces are in place. But first, suspension. To live up to the name of the ultimate driving machine, we'll be installing a set of KW V3s. This particular set, which we have linked in the description along with everything else in this video, includes the EDC delete kit. And although you'll be giving up the ability to change the suspension stiffness from the driver's seat, once you properly tune your suspension, you'll never want to change it. Unless of course you track your car. Then you'll definitely want something more aggressive than what the EDC can offer. On the other hand, the V3s provide 16 clicks of rebound independently from the 12 clicks of compression to give you exactly what you need in your daily commutes or on the track. In terms of height adjustment, the rears can come down 0.8 to 1.4 inches, while the fronts have a 0.6 to 1.2 inch drop. It's honestly a shame that BMW went with such a soft suspension for their competition models. You'd think with a slogan of the ultimate driving machine that they'd go with a more aggressive setup for their premium trim M model. Although it is a step up from the regular 3 Series suspension, as well as lighter with its aluminum composition, we feel that the trade-off in strength by going to a stainless steel strut is worth the additional weight gained to support a more aggressive driving style. However, for your peace of mind, if anything were to happen, KW backs the V3s with a lifetime warranty. Now, the adjustable struts are only half the equation, with the other half being the springs, which tends to get most of the attention because this is where the height usually gets adjusted to reduce the unwanted wheel gap. Additionally, by using a shorter, stiffer spring, the car can be lowered to a safe range that allows the suspension to compress and expand as needed. However, the trade-off for the aesthetics and slight handling improvements of just lowering springs is a reduced service life of the OEM struts, since they weren't designed to operate at that lower range, and it's for this reason we recommend the V3s for street cars that might see some track time, and the V4s if you go more frequently. This way, you'll have a suspension system that looks and rides great for a long time. Now with the suspension installed, we're not going to just throw back on the original wheels and hardware. Instead, we're going with the grade 10.9 steel wheel studs from Mevius. These 75mm studs will accept wheel spacers up to 12mm, and in addition to faster wheel changes, this kit converts the uncommon 14 by 1.25 thread to a 14 by 1.5, which opens up more options for lug nut designs. But before we get there, we have the wheels, which are a custom two-piece design from VFC that mimic the design of the 826 wheels. However, unlike the OEM 826 wheel, the modular VFC 826s can be made in any size from 18 to 24 inches, along with an offset of your choosing. Each wheel is forged from 6061 T6 aerospace aluminum and engineered with carbon fiber to produce a two-piece wheel that's rigid, lightweight, and strong. The only downside to this particular design is the maintenance. With so many intricacies, it's going to be hard to keep clean, so we highly recommend ceramic coating them, then apply a paint protectant like P&S's Beadmaker. Although it won't make cleaning your wheels 100% contactless, it will keep them clean longer and the cleaning process much easier. Getting back to the lug nuts, which are the Project Kicks R40 Iconics. Their rotating seat that reduces scratching to the wheels made them a no-brainer. And of course, we couldn't resist the carbon floating center caps. And now that the wheels, tires, and suspension are worthy of that competition namesake, let's do the same for the engine bay, where we'll dial up the M performance. So of course, we have to remove the bumper. Just kidding. But since it's going to come off anyways for the new grille, we decided to remove it now to get a little bit more working space. However, while it's out, we might as well make the switch to the yellow DRLs. Surprisingly enough, the adhesive on the LEDs weren't as hard to remove as previous generations. Just make sure to get the appropriate LCI or pre-LCI versions for your car and test them before installing, because these things are quite fragile. But that payoff is totally worth it. Now that the side quest is done, let's get back to the engine bay. Once we get off all the covers and bracing, we're first going to address the first bottleneck in terms of power, that being the factory intakes that hinder the amount of air going into the turbo. By going to the Eventuri intake, this engine bay is going to perform and sound as good as it looks. Even more so with this V2 design that features a sealed filter housing that promotes more laminar flow and stable intake air temperatures, all the way from the duct through the tubing that leads right into the turbo. And we all know more air equals more power. Now with that fully installed, you didn't think that we would throw back on the OEM coverings, did you? Of course not. That's why we went with the gloss carbon fiber radiator cover, secured by none other than the dress-up bolts from Downstar, as well as the matching engine cover and full set of golden wrench caps to enhance this gloss carbon red accent theme. A classic theme that never gets old. But personally, I had no idea anyone made a carbon fiber replacement for the battery terminal cover, but thanks to Auto Technic, it fit perfectly and looks like it belongs there. Just like the carbon fiber strut braces from Turner Motorsports that complete the look, feel, and performance of the engine bay. Before we give this car a facelift, we have one more critical piece to protect, that being the oil cooler. Even if this car wasn't lowered, the cooler is very vulnerable to road debris, and the OEM plastic cover barely offers any protection. So if you plan on adding a front lip, you might as well upgrade this part to a metal one while you're there. Now it's time to make this G80 look as good as it performs. With the skid plate done, we installed the genuine M Performance carbon fiber front lip. The three-piece design along with the back supports make this thing almost impossible to misalign and will prevent future sag, which pairs perfectly with the carbon fiber front grille from Auto Technic. This particular design is actually the second version of their Motorsport line. Moving along the side, we removed the black side skirts to make way for the carbon fiber ones. And don't worry, there's no drilling or tapping of any screws here. Everything lines up to the factory inserts along with the factory hardware. It's just that some one-time use fasteners like these rivets are easier to drill out for the removal of the old part, but your mileage may vary. The one that's a bit more challenging will be replacing the side markers. This definitely required us to mask off the area and finesse the plastic trim tool for a few minutes. Conversely, installing the carbon fiber one was as easy as snapping it in onto the back. And as soon as we finish here, I promise that you'll get to see and hear how amazing the new exhaust really is. In order to do that, we need to swap out the reflectors that came in a kit from I&D that also included the fronts. Pairing this with the carbon fiber splitters matches up nicely with the rear diffuser that, strangely enough, came included on this model versus being an upcharge. Nonetheless, with the bottom half looking this aggressive, we had to balance it out on the top with a more aggressive spoiler. And this is the part that gets really subjective even for us at the shop. So depending on what direction you want to take your car in, we left a few suggestions, including this one, along with the entire build sheet down in the description. Just make sure that no matter what design you choose to clean and prep the area so it's free of all the old adhesive, so your new spoiler can secure to the trunk firmly and it won't go anywhere. And now the rear end finally looks as aggressive as the exhaust sounds. So now that the car sounds good, looks good, handles amazingly, and performs even better, it's finally time to address the interior. This is what you'll look at and touch every time you drive, no matter if it's for a weekend cruise or a stressful morning commute. That's why it's so important to use high quality materials here to enhance your driving experience by keeping you focused on the road versus something that's making you feel uncomfortable. Hence the M Performance Alcantara carbon fiber package, Mad Trace magnetic paddle shifters, golden wrench hood latch, and a fire extinguisher for safety. Starting off with the most important piece, this steering wheel, which has a flat bottom for extra legroom and needs to have the Mad Trace paddle shifters. The magnetic feature of these provide better tactile feedback compared to stock and gets rid of that plasticky feel. Plus they reset much quicker, so whether you're accelerating onto the freeway or downshifting to a quick stop, you'll be able to do so with much better precision. Now I will admit some of these mods are purely cosmetic, but when something looks good, especially your car, you take much more pride in it and feel better about it. That's exactly why we had to replace the door seals with the carbon fiber versions as well as the door handle trims. And if you work on your car often, you'll truly appreciate the feel of the golden wrench hood latch compared to the plastic OEM one, which tied directly into that gloss carbon red accent theme from the engine bay. And speaking of the engine bay, just like the battery terminal cover, I didn't know there were different color covers for the volume knob. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised since it was done with the start-stop buttons first with great success. Time for us to get back to business, or should I say safety. Normally reserved for cars that see track time, having a small fire extinguisher within arm's reach isn't a bad idea even in a daily. It's just one of those things that you hope to never use, but when you need it, you really need it. Whether it be from totaling out the car entirely or just restricting the damage to a small area. However, in terms of daily commuting, I would say that the armrest ranks third most important, right behind the steering wheel and seat. The reason being is that you're always using it, and depending on what conditions you drive in and how diligent you are with cleaning, the leather could be a better option than Alcantara. On the other hand, the Alcantara is softer and more temperature resistant than the leather. It's actually a topic we're kind of split on at the shop. So let us know what your preference is and why, because now it's finally time to take this amazing machine for a test drive and see how $40,000 drastically improved this G80 M3 competition.